As we grow older, joy sometimes no longer comes from things that are too grand, but from very small moments: a quiet morning, a warm cup of tea, a little sunlight on the balcony, and a few green plants growing day by day. For older adults, gardening is not just a relaxing hobby. It is also a gentle way to heal both the body and the mind. Watering plants, touching the leaves, watching flowers bloom, or picking a few fragrant leaves to make tea can help them feel that they are still connected to nature, to the rhythm of life, and to themselves. However, not every plant is suitable. Older adults should choose plants that are easy to grow and easy to care for, do not require heavy lifting, do not require too much bending, are less prone to pests and diseases, and can grow well in small pots on a balcony, patio, or beside a window. In this video, we will explore 10 of the best potted plants for older adults who want to enjoy healing gardening plants that are beautiful, easy to care for, and bring a sense of peace every day. If you also believe that just a few small potted plants can make life feel a little gentler, please hit like to support this video. 1. Primrose. You don't need a large garden. Sometimes, just a small pot of primrose placed on the balcony is enough to make an older person's living space feel warmer and more full of life. This is a small, delicate flower that usually blooms in late winter or early spring, when the weather is still cold and the garden has not yet become truly vibrant. That is exactly why primrose often brings such a special feeling. It is like a gentle sign that spring is returning, that after the cold days, life is still continuing to bloom. For older adults, a pot of primrose placed by the window, out on the balcony, or in front of the porch can create a very simple kind of joy each morning. Just seeing those small flowers in shades of yellow, pink, purple, white, or red can make the living space feel warmer and more lively. This is not the kind of plant that is overly showy, but it has a wonderful ability to soothe the mood. Primrose is also quite well suited to the cool climate of Europe. It prefers gentle light or a partly shaded spot, so it is a great match for balconies that do not receive harsh sun all day long. When growing it in a pot, you only need to choose loose soil that holds a moderate amount of moisture while still draining well. There is no need to water too much. It should only be watered when the surface of the soil starts to feel slightly dry, and care should be taken not to let the pot become waterlogged. One lovely thing about primrose is that it does not require too much effort. Older adults only need to remove faded flowers once in a while, rotate the pot so the plant receives light more evenly, and spend a few minutes observing its small changes each day. In a healing garden, primrose is like a gentle reminder, no matter how long winter may last, a new season is always quietly drawing near. 2. Dianthus. Dianthus brings the feeling of a touch of classic beauty. Neatly placed in a small pot on the balcony, dianthus has a gentle yet very charming beauty. Its small flowers often have slightly fringed petal edges, with a wide range of colors such as pink, red, white, pale purple, or two-toned blends. When they bloom in clusters inside a pot, the plant creates a feeling that is both cheerful and classic, making it a lovely fit for a balcony, patio, or a small garden corner in front of the house. What makes dianthus special is that many varieties have a light, slightly sweet, and pleasant fragrance. For older adults, this scent can bring a very natural sense of relaxation, especially in the morning or in the cool late afternoon. Just placing a pot near a chair, by a window, or beside a walkway allows them to feel a little softness from the garden every time they pass by. Dianthus is also quite easy to care for. It prefers a spot with plenty of light, well-draining soil, and does not need too much watering. When planted in a pot, it is best to choose one with drainage holes, so the roots do not become waterlogged. The caregiver only needs to water when the surface of the soil begins to dry, and occasionally trim off faded flowers, so the plant can continue producing new blooms. In a healing garden, dianthus is like a small but lasting joy. It is not too fussy, does not take up much space, yet still brings color, fragrance, and a very gentle feeling of care. For older adults, a pot of dianthus can become a little daily companion, quietly blooming, quietly brightening an entire corner of peace. 3. Pelargonium. Pelargonium is the kind of flower that can make a small balcony brighten up almost instantly. This is one of the most popular potted flowers in Europe, especially on balconies, windowsills, and patios. Pelargonium has a compact shape, with flowers blooming in eye-catching clusters in many colors such as red, pink, white, orange, or pale purple. Just a few small pots placed next to each other can make the living space feel much brighter and more full of life. For older adults, pelargonium is very suitable because it creates a cheerful feeling without requiring overly complicated care. The flowers bloom for quite a long time, and their colors are clear and easy to see. So every morning, when the caregiver steps out onto the balcony, they can immediately feel a source of positive energy. This is not the kind of plant that feels too fragile, but it is still soft enough to soothe the mood. Pelargonium prefers a place with plenty of light and good airflow. When grown in a pot, it is best to choose loose, well-draining soil and a pot with drainage holes at the bottom. The plant does not like to be waterlogged, so it should only be watered when the top layer of soil begins to dry. For older adults, this is quite convenient because it does not need to be watered many times throughout the day. One small task that can be done regularly is removing faded flower clusters. This not only helps the plant look neater and more beautiful, but also gives the hands a gentle activity, almost like a very relaxing care ritual. In a healing garden, pelargonium is like a warm splash of color. It brings a cheerful, familiar, and lasting feeling, making it very suitable for anyone who wants to start gardening with a lovely, easy care flower that always knows how to brighten a small corner of life. 4. Petunia. Petunia brings the feeling of a soft stream of color cascading down from the balcony. This is a very popular flower for balconies and patios because it produces many blooms, comes in a wide range of colors, and can make a space feel vibrant very quickly. Petunias can be purple, pink, white, red, yellow, or even have several colors blended on the same flower. When grown in hanging baskets or raised pots, their soft, trailing stems make the space feel lighter, more cheerful, and more full of life. For older adults, petunia brings a joy that is easy to notice. Each morning, when they step out onto the balcony and see layers of soft flowers in bloom, the day can feel like it is beginning in a gentler way. This is a suitable plant for anyone who wants a colorful garden corner without necessarily having a large space. Petunia prefers a spot with plenty of light, because the more sunlight it gets, the easier it is for the plant to bloom. When growing it in a pot, it is best to choose loose, well-draining soil and water it regularly, especially on warm or windy days. However, it is important to avoid waterlogged soil, because the roots can become weak if the pot stays too wet for too long. One small task that is very good for petunia is removing faded flowers. This work is gentle and does not require much strength, but it gives older adults the feeling that they are caring for the plant a little each day. At the same time, the plant will look neater and can continue producing new blooms. Petunia does not need a large garden to shine. Just one hanging pot on the balcony is enough to make that small corner feel soft, cheerful, and full of life. If by now you've found a plant you like, please hit like and subscribe to save this video and come back to it whenever you need. 5. Erigeron. Erigeron has a beauty that feels like a small piece of meadow placed right on the balcony. Erigeron has a very rustic and natural charm. Its tiny flowers usually have white, pale pink, or slightly purple petals, with a yellow center, looking like little wild daisies growing along the roadside. When grown in a pot, the plant often forms soft clusters that gently spill over the edge, making a balcony or patio corner feel poetic and close to nature. For older adults, Erigeron is a very lovely choice because it does not have a beauty that is too bright or elaborate. It creates a peaceful feeling, like bringing a small patch of nature into the home. Simply sitting beside a pot of Erigeron in the morning, watching the tiny flowers tremble lightly in the breeze, can help the mind slow down a little. Erigeron is quite easy to grow and is well suited to temperate climates. It prefers a spot with good light, but it can also tolerate mild sun or partial shade. When grown in a pot, it is best to use well-draining soil and avoid overwatering. The plant does not like being waterlogged, so it only needs to be watered when the soil begins to dry. One wonderful thing about Erigeron is that it can bloom for quite a long time if cared for gently. Older adults only need to trim off faded flowers or overly long stems from time to time to keep the pot looking neat. In a healing garden, Erigeron is like a miniature meadow corner. It reminds us that beauty does not always have to be grand. Sometimes, just one small flower, quietly blooming each day, is enough to soften the heart. 6. Sweet alyssum. Sweet alyssum is like a small cloud of flowers, soft enough to soothe an entire balcony corner. Just as its name suggests, sweet alyssum has tiny clusters of flowers, usually in white, pale purple, light pink, or cream, blooming densely like a soft layer of stars covering the surface of the pot. It does not have the bold beauty of larger flowers, but it brings a feeling that is very gentle, delicate, and peaceful. For older adults, sweet alyssum is especially suitable because the plant is small, light, and easy to place in many different spots, such as a windowsill, balcony, patio, or along the edge of a larger pot. When it blooms fully, the whole pot looks like a little cloud, making the space feel softer without looking too busy. One very lovely thing about sweet alyssum is that many varieties have a light, slightly sweet scent. Similar to honey, this fragrance is not too strong. It only drifts gently through the breeze, making it very suitable for a healing garden. Older adults can sit near the flower pot in the morning or in the cool late afternoon, enjoying the flowers while sensing a very gentle touch of fragrance. Sweet alyssum is also quite easy to care for. It prefers good light, but in places where the summer is too hot, it should be placed in a spot with mild sun or partial shade. When grown in a pot, it only needs loose, well-draining soil and regular watering, so the soil does not stay dry for too long. In a healing garden, sweet alyssum is like a peaceful background layer. It does not need to be the main character, but it makes everything around it feel softer, brighter, and more lovingly cared for. 7. Dwarf dahlia. Dwarf dahlia is like a bright spot of sunshine for balconies that need a little more life. If primrose carries the gentle feeling of early spring, then dwarf dahlia feels like a vibrant gift from summer and early fall. The plant has a shorter, more compact shape than regular dahlias, making it very suitable for growing in pots and placing on a balcony, patio, or beside a garden pathway. The most attractive thing about dwarf dahlia is its striking flowers. The blooms can come in red, orange, yellow, pink, purple, or white, with many layers of petals arranged evenly, looking both soft and full of life. For older adults, a pot of blooming dwarf dahlia can bring a very clear sense of cheerfulness. Like having a small bright spot in the day, dwarf dahlia prefers a place with plenty of light, especially morning sun or gentle sunlight during the day. When grown in a pot, it is best to choose a pot that is wide enough, has good drainage holes, and is filled with loose, nutrient-rich soil. The plant needs regular watering, especially on warm days, but the soil should not be allowed to stay soggy for too long. One very gentle care task is cutting off faded flowers. This helps the plant look neater and encourages new blooms to keep coming. For older adults, this can also be a small activity for the hands, not too tiring, but still giving them the feeling that they are caring for something beautiful. In a healing garden, dwarf dahlia is like a reminder of joy. It not only beautifies the space, but also brings a feeling of warmth, brightness, and hope to ordinary days. 8. Sempervivum. Sempervivum carries the quiet beauty of things that are small but resilient. Unlike many bright, showy flowers, sempervivum has a very calm beauty. The plant grows in small rosettes, almost like green flowers made of leaves. Its colors are also quite diverse, ranging from fresh green and gray-green to pale purple, reddish-brown, or a mix of different tones. When planted in a shallow pot, a stone planter, or placed on an outdoor balcony table, sempervivum creates a feeling that is neat, clean, and peaceful. What makes sempervivum especially suitable for older adults is that it is extremely easy to care for. The plant tolerates dryness well, does not need frequent watering, and can handle cold weather better than many common succulents. Because of this, in many parts of Europe, sempervivum can live outdoors all year round as long as the pot has good drainage. When growing this plant, the most important thing is not to overwater it. Sempervivum prefers a place with plenty of light, very airy soil, and a pot with drainage holes. If the soil stays wet for too long, the roots may rot. So, for older adults who do not want overly complicated plant care, sempervivum is a very gentle choice. Another interesting thing is that sempervivum often produces many small baby plants around the mother plant. Each time a new little rosette appears, The caregiver can feel as if the garden is quietly expanding. In a healing garden, sempervivum is like a symbol of resilience. It is small, quiet, and asks for very little. Yet it still lives strongly through sun, wind, and even cold days. 9. Ajuga. Ajuga brings the feeling of a quiet green layer, making a small balcony feel deeper and more soothing to the eye. Ajuga is not a plant that impresses with large flowers, but with its low, calm, and very natural beauty. Depending on the variety, its leaves are often deep green, bronze purple, brownish purple, or touched with silvery tones. When grown in a pot, ajuga forms a soft carpet of leaves, making the surface of the pot look fuller and more layered. For older adults, ajuga is very suitable because it has a low-growing shape, is easy to care for, and does not require too many complicated tasks. A pot of ajuga placed on a balcony, patio, or near a walkway can bring a cool, quiet feeling, almost like a small forest corner. Especially in spring or early summer, the plant may produce small, blue-purple flowers that grow in short spikes, creating a gentle yet graceful accent. Ajuga prefers gentle light, partial shade, or morning sun. Because of this, it is a great fit for balconies that do not receive harsh sun all day long. When grown in a pot, it is best to use loose soil that holds a moderate amount of moisture while still draining well. The caregiver only needs to water when the soil begins to dry, while avoiding letting the plant stay waterlogged for too long. One nice thing about ajuga is that it can spread gently, so after a while, the pot will look more natural and full of life. For older adults, watching new leaves slowly spread out can also become a very slow and peaceful kind of joy. In a healing garden, ajuga is like a quiet background layer. It is not loud or overly bright, but it quietly makes the space feel deeper, softer, and as if it is being embraced by nature. 10. Brunnera. Brunnera brings the feeling of a cool, gentle patch of shade placed right in the middle of a small balcony. Brunnera is a plant with a very soothing beauty. Its most striking feature is not only its flowers, but also its heart-shaped leaves, which are often green with silvery tones or marked with soft, bright veins. When grown in a pot, brunnera creates a fresh, gentle feeling, almost like bringing a small forest corner onto the balcony. In spring, brunnera can bloom with tiny blue flowers that look quite similar to forget-me-nots. These little flowers are not overly bright, but they have a very poetic charm. For older adults, a pot of brunnera, placed somewhere easy to see, can bring a sense of peace, like looking at a small patch of blue sky resting among silver leaves. Brunnera is especially suitable for areas with gentle light, partial shade, or morning sun. Because of this, it is a good choice for balconies that are not too sunny, cool porches, or garden corners with soft light. When grown in a pot, it is best to use loose soil that holds a moderate amount of moisture while still draining well. The plant does not like to stay dry for too long, but the pot should also not become waterlogged. One good thing about brunnera is that the caregiver does not need to do too much. They only need to water it regularly when the soil becomes slightly dry. Remove old leaves or faded flowers to keep the pot looking neat, and rotate the pot from time to time so the plant can grow evenly. In a healing garden, brunnera is like a cool, peaceful pause. It does not need to stand out with bright colors. Instead, it heals through its gentleness, elegance, and the sense of calm it brings every time you look at it. A healing garden does not necessarily have to be a wide yard or a large outdoor garden. For older adults, sometimes all it takes is a small balcony corner, a few pots within easy reach, a little morning light, and some easy care plants to create a very peaceful space. Primrose brings the feeling of spring returning. Dianthus has a classic beauty and a gentle fragrance. Pelargonium and petunia brighten the balcony with cheerful colors. Erigeron and sweet alyssum feel soft and gentle, like small pieces of nature. Dwarf dahlia brings bright joy, while sempervivum, ajuga, and brunnera help the space feel quieter, cooler, and more comfortable. The most important thing is to choose plants that do not create extra pressure to care for. The plants should be compact, easy to grow in pots, suitable for a balcony, and not require too much physical effort. When watering, watching flowers bloom, and trimming a few old leaves become a gentle daily habit. That small garden does more than beautify the living space. It quietly nourishes the spirit, bringing a sense of relaxation, connection, and healing. Among the 10 plants we talked about today, which ones have you already heard of or grown before? Please leave a comment below. I'll read every single one of your shares. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next videos.